Here we are. It's week 2 in the National Football League, and we are all back together here on Football Friday. Hopefully you all got your overreactions out of the way as we get you set for an exciting weekend of NFL action. One that I think is going to be desperate for some teams. Other teams, you've got some great matchups, others some great storylines as well. Guys, it's great to see you all again. How you doing?
All right. Well,
doing good.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Nick, I think I know how Morgasen's feeling, but Nick DiMartino, you're the Jet fan. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm still not over it. That was a very emotional. It was basically an emotional roller coaster on Monday because the thing is, I was at the game, so I saw it happen in person.
Oof.
Oh, and actually, yeah.
The thing is, while the game was going on, I honestly thought everything was going to be okay because I heard all X-rays were negative. But then when I got home, I saw on Twitter that Robert Saleh was like, they're expecting the worst. And I was like, okay, it's probably over. And then the next day I was like, okay, it's definitely over.
I mean, how rare is it that you actually see the head coach after a game come out and say,
I've never seen that.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. You don't hear that ever.
No, most of the time they would sugarcoat it and be like, well, looks like he might be okay. But Saleh didn't do that. And the thing is, it was such an emotional win for me because for me, it was like I was hoping like, okay, Rodgers is going to be okay. He'll be back next week or something like that. And then this game now means something. But then it was like, okay, we won the game. It felt good for 30 seconds. And now we know it's all over.
I mean, it takes the whole phrase of
RELAX
to a whole new level because everyone was like, relax. It's not a season ender. Don't. And I'm like, come on. The term of the night was reverberate. That was the word that was going around on social media, and yet every football fan, fake doctor on social media, going around and saying, "Oh, it's broken, it's sprained." By the way, thanks Ryan Clark because your medical analysis is so great. It's broken. His career's over. You really think Aaron Rodgers is going to go out on this injury and end his career on that? No,
I don't.
No. And speaking of, and we'll get to the Jets, obviously, and we'll get to all of our teams. Hank, I think, ironically enough, relax is the word that I would use for our Giants right now, especially coming off of Sunday. And, a lot of people that I've been talking to about it, they were like, Johnny, what the hell happened? Well, I told them, I said, go watch Football Friday from last week, because what was the one thing I said I was concerned about in that game Sunday? It was the Dallas defense, and that's exactly what it was. It wasn't the Dallas offense. It was their defense. It was the fact that
they put up 40 points.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, really, Nick, to be fair, I mean, I don't care who you are. Not many teams can survive giving up a special teams and a defensive touchdown in the first quarter. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
I mean, what did I tell you back about opening night?
43 yards. So
wait a minute. What did I tell you about track record on opening week between the Giants and the Cowboys? They never win.
I didn't say they were going to win either. So I mean, that's why I'm.
Guilty as charged.
It's okay.
It happens.
It happens. Absolutely.
I really thought with all the improvements the Giants made, I was going to see something different. But then the block field goal touchdown happens by the guy whose name I'm not even going to bother pronouncing. And I swear, when I was writing that blog, I'm pretty sure my spell check was probably having a stroke when I typed it out. So,
jeez.
Yeah. No. Him, whatever his name is. He scored that touchdown. You knew it was all over from there. And I do want to point out, by the way, there was one thing I didn't mention in that blog, and that was that I would say that Dable got outcoached. And it pains me to say this because I'm still a very big supporter of Brian Dable. And in fact, I still think he's going to turn things around. But what we learned, and that takeaway that I didn't cover in the blog, was that I think we're learning that it's not as easy to keep things sustained for multiple years. And I think Brian Dable learned that the hard way. And, Johnny, this is going to sound like crazy, but it's almost not entirely the worst thing in the world that the Giants suffered a loss like this, because they dealt with something in this week 1 that they didn't really deal with a year ago. And now they're truly facing their first series of adversity. And how they bounce back from this loss going forward, I think that's going to be the true benchmark for how we measure the Giants later on in the season. But
save that for the Giants take when we do the game. But
yeah.
But yeah.
True. But I just wanted to point that out because I didn't cover that in my blog, and it's something that I should have mentioned.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they were through some adversity last year, but that's a very, very good point. Not like this, though. And, Ben, I got to tell you, your Patriots actually hung in quite well last week with the Eagles. They made it pretty close in the end. What do you take away from that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it didn't look great. It looked like the first quarter, Mac had a pick six, and then Zeke Elliott had a very tough opening, I guess you could say, for the Pats, which – Zeke played a lot more than I thought. They really played him a lot in this game. But, he had the catch on the screen, fumble. Then the Eagles got it. They scored a touchdown. But I was saying it afterward of the game. The Eagles only scored that touchdown offensively, and that was it. The Patriots defense really held after that. The Patriots specifically actually held the Eagles only to that touchdown on short field. Everything else, the Patriots either gave them a 3-and-out, a punt. They also got a turnover in the fourth quarter, which almost made the Patriots come back and win this game. They could have obviously gave up after being down 60-0, but then defensively, I told myself in the first half that they kept on giving the offense chance and chance and chance, and I thought Bill O'Brien really made great adjustments in that second quarter, and Mac Jones really started to cook. He had a touchdown to Hunter Henry. He had a touchdown to Kendrick Bourne. Bourne had 2 touchdowns of the day. And then the third quarter, before I get into the third quarter, I thought the Brady ceremony was absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be there next year. They actually waived the 4-year Hall of Fame for Brady in terms of the Patriots Hall of Fame. So he's going to be there next year in the stadium. I don't care how much it is going to be. I will be there. The second half, I thought that the Pats played really well. They played hard. They just came up a little bit short. But I know we're going to make our game picks coming up soon, but in terms of in terms of the way that this game's going to be going in week 2, I felt a lot more comfortable coming out of that game at the end of it than I thought potentially if the game was going to be a blowout. I thought offensively they had 2 of their starting offensive tackles or guards out before the game, and I'm like, this is going to be brutal. And the offense held its ground. They held its ground and just came a little too late.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all very fair. Well, we'll see what we can do for you here in week number 2 in the NFL. Again, another week where it's very difficult to pick games because, like I said, the overreaction of week 1, do you carry that into week 2? Also, do you go with the team that's really desperate? And I think there are a couple of teams that could be desperate, you could say, in week 2. But we'll see what we could do. Just real quick, going over last week, though, Nick DiMartino had a very great week. He went 10-6 against the spread. And 4 of us went 7-9. We had a 500 one with Paul. And we had a 5-11. But in terms of the points, which is what we do 2 points if you win and cover. 4 points, you could double that with a bench lock, but if you don't get that part right, then you don't get anything. And 1 if you get half of the game right. And right now, Nick DiMartino is leading the pack with 23 points. But it is still very early on. We'll see if we can get you some winners and some points as well. So you guys ready to do this thing for week number 2?
Let's go.
All right, here we go for week 2 in the National Football League. Hank, it's a Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Shannon Spake special on Fox. We head down to Atlanta, a battle of 1-0 teams as the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love take on Desmond Ridder and the Atlanta Falcons. This line has fluctuated like crazy on Thursday. The Falcons are the 1.5-point home favorites.
All right, so I have to say it. The Packers definitely did better than I thought. Whether Jordan Love truly is the answer, I don't know, and I think time will tell as to whether he can be the heir apparent. But in any event, you guys know I've been stirring the Falcons haterade, and that'll continue. Give me the Pack.
Ben?
Yeah, I think that the Packers are going to win this game. I really like the way that they play in that first week. I don't think they're going to win outright. I think that the line's still going to be pretty close, and I think that the Falcons are going to play them close. So I'm going to go plus 1.5 on this one, and I think that they're probably going to win within about, I would say, 5 to 7 points.
So you're taking Green Bay then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead, Nick Morgasen.
I got burned last week because I took the Panthers because I thought the Falcons were actually not going to be great. Again, like Hank, I'm not a big Falcons guy because I think there's still some chemistry issues they got to figure out. I like Bijan. He looked good. He had a really good week. But I don't know. For some reason, I thought like Jordan Love was going to be a huge mess. Now, the line was a joke last week for the Packers-Bears. I think it was Bears -1 last week. And so I don't know if I really technically call that an upset that you beat a -1 spread. But I don't know. Jordan Love actually didn't look too bad last week. I'm going to take the plus points and go with the Packers.
Oh, so we got 3 there. This is the kind of week when I was looking at picks when I was looking at these lines and stuff that I feel like I could go 13-3 or 1-15. And this game, the first game we're picking, is one of those games because I was going back and forth on it. And again, if you go based off last week, you saw how great Jordan Love was, and Desmond Ridder didn't really have to do much against the Panthers. And I think the Packers will not have to worry about containing Ridder like they did with Fields. But also Atlanta, I think, seems better suited to challenge Green Bay, specifically on defense and on the ground. See, I'm struggling already. But I think what Green Bay may have to deal with this week are more injury woes. Like we're hearing once again Christian Watson's name coming up in the injury reports. I think they got to deal with a better defense this week with the Falcons and also a team that can eat up a lot of the clock. So I'm rolling with the Atlanta Falcons in this game. It'll be close, something like maybe 24-20, but I'm going to take the money here and take the Falcons minus the 1.5 in Atlanta. Okay. And Nick DiMartino, you can close us out here for game number 1.
I was very back and forth on this game, but I would have to go with the Packers. Okay. Because you know what? Jordan Love, Desmond Ridder wasn't bad, but he didn't have to do that much. Whereas Jordan Love, he did a lot more. He threw like 3 touchdown passes and for like 245 yards, I think. So he did a lot. The Packers proved that they could win. They could play a high-scoring game. And I also think that playing in Atlanta, not that Atlanta is necessarily a worse team than the Bears, but playing in Chicago is probably a lot harder than playing in Atlanta, especially if you're going to score a lot of points. So I think Green Bay kind of proved something from this past weekend where the Falcons didn't prove much at all. I mean, look, I'm not going to get on them for winning, but they beat the Panthers, who might end up being the worst team in the league this year, 24-10, and Ridder didn't have to do that much. I don't know. I'm not really sold on the Falcons. I'm a little bit more sold on Green Bay.
So there we go. So we got 4 upset specials already. We got Paul Lombardi taking the Falcons, and Tom Albano is taking the Packers in this one. So that's what we roll with in game number 1. Nick DiMartino, it's a Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins special on CBS as Jimmy Garoppolo and the Las Vegas Raiders travel up to Buffalo to take on Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, with the Bills an 8.5-point favorite.
I'm gonna go with the Bills minus 8.5. The Bills. You know what? After a loss like that is just going to be. They're going to be very. I really think this team is going to bounce back. And not just that, but it's like that's not an easy stadium to play in. I mean, the Raiders, they beat the Broncos by 1 point on the road. It's got to be a lot harder to go to Buffalo. I mean, I think Buffalo blows them out.
All right, Hank.
Yeah, I can't see the Bills starting off 0-2. They're a team that is going to be very, very desperate. And look, I'll give the Raiders credit. Did they get lucky? Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think that luck is going to transform for consecutive weeks. Give me Buffalo. And I also expect Josh Allen to have a bounce-back performance.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm going to go Buffalo. I think, the Raiders, I think, might have Devontae Adams on the injury report right now. So if he's not 100% healthy, that's obviously massive. Jimmy G, I think, might have been the injury report too. So if he's not 100%, they got to go to Buffalo, a really tough place, even though it's a day game. And I think they're going to be playing against a really hungry Buffalo team, which wasn't at 100% last week in terms of their execution. I think they execute a lot better, especially at home. They have the home crowd. I'm going to go cover the minus 8.5 in Buffalo.
Go ahead, Nick.
Excuse me. I mean, just to go off the point of Jimmy G, Jimmy G is going to be on the injury report every week. That's just because of the injury he dealt with all offseason. So I don't think the injury report means a whole heck of a lot, especially when you get into the second half of the season. Everyone ends up on the injury report. Yeah, the Bills are going to be frustrated and pissed off, losing on essentially a walk-off punt return, and the Bills shouldn't have lost that game. As soon as Aaron Rodgers goes out after 3 plays, Josh Allen should have owned that game every way, shape, or form. The Jets defense gets a lot of credit because they played very well after he went out.
Teams.
Don't forget special teams, correct. And don't forget Whitehead, who had 3 picks on top of that, earning his incentive bonus in the first game. He needed 3 picks all season. He got it in 1 game. So the Bills are going to come out angry. Josh Allen's got to play a whole heck of a lot better. I have questions about Josh Allen now after the way he played in game 1, because I just think there's something going on with him. We saw it at the end of last season. We're seeing it now, but it's the Raiders and Jimmy G. And Jimmy G is a very beatable, easy target. And this is going to be a cover. I think they're going to win double digits.
What the Jets did last week was take away the ball 3 times from Allen, and the Raiders have the fewest takeaways league-wide since 2021. And the beginning to the McDaniels-Jimmy Garoppolo marriage, it was at best decent last week against the Broncos. I think they got to get Devontae Adams more involved, especially if you're looking at Jacoby Myers, who could be still in concussion protocol. And I think the Raiders have to get more out of Josh Jacobs if they're going to go toe-to-toe here with Buffalo. This is a spot where I think the Bills are going to be mad, and I think they bounce back in a big way. I'm in agreement with all you guys. This, I think, has at least a 10-point win written on it. Give me Buffalo. Take the money on that one. And the other 2 guys, Paul and Tom, are also taking the money. So this is a clean sweep up in Buffalo for the Bills. Andrew Catalan, Tiki Barber, Matt Ryan, AJ Ross special on the NFL and CBS. A big matchup here in the AFC North, guys. This is one I've had circled on my calendar all week. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals a 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to go here first, and it sucks. J.K. Dobbins is out for the season with that Achilles with that injury. That
Second time, right?
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, he just can't.
He's gone through a lot.
And I think what you have to watch for in this one is, I know Harbaugh said that he was going to stay in-house for the running back spot, but I think this game might be a good test to see where they go in that regard. And the bigger story, though, here in this matchup is Pro Bowl tight end Mark Andrews could be back for the Ravens. I think that is huge, especially when you look at Zay Flowers, who stood out last week, Odell and Bateman. And I'll tell you what, Joe Burrow did not look good last week. The whole team didn't look good, and I felt like they had a thing that had it in the making last week. Does this sound familiar, that the Bengals could start 0-2 again? And No, but I'll tell you what, though, this year it'd be different, and I'm going to tell you what, not only am I taking the Ravens with the points here, I'm taking them outright. Upset special number 1, Baltimore plus 3.5. I'm taking them outright to start 2-0. And equally as important, put the Bengals in a huge early season hole. Nick D, go for it.
You know what? I like the Bengals. I think they're going to have a bounce back game. They're at home this time, and I'm not really so. First of all, the Ravens, they have a lot more injuries than the injuries problem with the Ravens right now is a bigger problem than it is with the Bengals. I don't necessarily think it's going to be the exact same as it was last week. And I don't know. I'm not sold on the Ravens because they beat the Texans. I mean, like, it's not really that impressive of a win. It's not like they went out there and it's not the way I feel about the Packers putting up like 40 points. I mean, they beat the Texans. I mean, I don't know if they're really that good, and they have so many injury problems. I don't think that the Bengals are going to be as bad as they were last week. I just see a bounce back. 3.5, it's not too bad. I mean, I think 3.5 is not that hard to cover. So I have to go with the Bengals.
All right, Hank.
All right. Are you guys ready for this?
Let's hear it.
This is going to sound very bold, but you know what? Call me crazy. Bengals, lock of the week.
Whoa!
We got ourselves our first lock of
Bengals are going to be my
two.
lock of Bengals are going to be my lock of the week, and let me explain why. First of all, I don't think the Bengals can do much worse than they did last week. Second of all, Joe Burrow is the type of quarterback where after a bad loss, you just know he's going to get motivated and he's going to do better. That's not like it wouldn't be that unusual. Third of all, I mean, the Ravens' injury situation, that's pretty scary. I'm not going to lie. And fourth of all, come on. You guys know I'm also low-key drinking the Lamar Haterade and stirring it with some extra sugar. So are we really surprised that I'm doing this?
Not really.
But at the end of the day, Bengals are not going to go 0-2. In fact, they can ill afford this. This is a desperate game for them. I got to go with the Bengals. I'm very confident. I know Nick's shaking his head at me like, what are you thinking? But
we'll get to him in just 1 second. Let me go to Ben here first.
So I got the Bengals to win, but I think that the Ravens are going to cover. They always play. The Ravens and Bengals always have close games. Even last year in the AFC wild card game, they started Tyler Huntley, and the game went right down the wire. I think it was like the last play essentially helped the Bengals specifically win the game, but it came right down to the last of, I think it was like James Prochet missed a catch or something in the end zone. So they play each other really, really hard. Two teams that really know each other well. I'm going to say 24-21 Bengals. And I think that the Bengals are going to win this game, but the Ravens are going to cover the points here. So give me the Bengals.
Okay. So I said this before the season. It was a bold take. I've gotten heat on social media because I said it during the preview. I actually said that the Bengals were going to miss the playoffs, and they were not even going to make a wild card.
Whoa!
Yes, I did say that. I'm taking full credit, and I still believe it because of what happened last week. Burrow did not look good last week. It looked like he's still hurt. It looks like he's compensating. He shouldn't have played week 1. That was what was supposed to happen originally. He was not supposed to play week 1. They rushed him back, and they just got a terrible game out of Burrow. By the way, this is going to be DDTB because I'm taking the Ravens on the plus side. The Ravens are going to win this game. The Bengals are going to go down 0-2, and their season's going to be in flux when they start 0-2. And they just paid their quarterback $275 million. Okay? So, Ravens plus 3.5.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Well, look, if you said the Bengals are going to miss the playoffs and they can't win this game and I'll tell you what, they don't win this game, they go to 0-2. And not only 0-2, it's not like 0-2 from last year because it'll be 2 divisional losses potentially to the Ravens who could win this division. I mean, they are going to put themselves in a real early hole here. And what you saw from Burrow last week also was the fact that these guys who don't play in the now I know he was hurt, but these guys who don't play in the preseason, they come out and they look flat.
Well, they can't, though. They make so much money.
But, Nick, I know you and I have had this conversation, and it's funny because I feel like this is where we need to have like a panel of doctors on the show because we complain how these guys, like we baby these guys so they don't get hurt. Well, it turns out they seem to be getting hurt at a larger rate. Now, could that be because they're not playing as much? Could that be the fact that we can determine injuries more? Is it a combination of all of that? I mean, we see that in baseball. Look how many these pitchers are having season-ending injuries.
But wait a minute. The funny part is, like we say, we're not going to play in the preseason because we don't want to tire these guys out. What happens in week 1? Every team is flat in week 1.
And let's be honest, too, about that game last week real quick. Deshaun Watson didn't play that great of a game last week, and they still blew them out.
Yeah, but Burrow should have never played. I don't think he was healthy.
I think their offensive line is going to be a weakness too. That Bengals offensive line looked really, really ugly last week. You could just see the pass rush really coming at Burrow. So I could definitely see where Johnny's picking the Ravens in this one because they obviously always play them tough. Burrow obviously didn't have a great game, so it can really happen. Specifically where preseason time, I know it's cliche for a lot of guys to not play it, but in terms of getting reps, especially early on in the season, you have to be able to get some reps for a lot of these quarterbacks, even if they're great, because you're gonna be able to get them in a rhythm. But I think when week 2 is a lot better than week 1. I think for a lot of quarterbacks that have a lot of experience because they can kind of get the kinks out kind of early and most of them are kind of able to kind of get back on track and kind of really be like, okay, that's kind of the quarterback we know about.
3+ years now, or you can even say since Joe Burrow's gotten into this league, the Cincinnati Bengals have not been able to get an offensive line for him. I think Tom said it during our NFL preview show that we did. It's almost criminal, the fact that they've not been able to get up an offensive line for him. But so, by the way, Tom, Nick and I don't apologize for DDTB. Do disrespect the Bengals. That's what we're doing. Tom here is, let's see. Oh, interestingly enough,
did he take the Ravens?
Tom took the Ravens.
Of course he did.
Wow.
So he did take the Ravens. So he does disrespect them. And Paul took the Ravens as well. Now, I have to just make sure that's not a full upset special there with the Ravens because they are getting – the Bengals are laying that extra half a point. So we'll see what they do. By the way, folks, just to confirm of our bench lock here. So for Hank to win and get 4 points, the Bengals have to win by four or more points. He can still get a win. What's that?
It's a risk I'm willing to take.
Hey, you know what? You got it. Sometimes you got to be bold, and that's what makes this a lot of fun. So that's what we're going to go with in this huge AFC North battle in Cincinnati. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi special on the NFL and Fox. Nick Morgasen. It's Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Detroit Lions with Jared Goff coming off that big Thursday night win 10 days ago against Patrick Mahomes and the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs. And at Ford Field, the Detroit Lions are a 5-point favorite.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I said to you guys last week, I like Seattle. That one kind of blew up in my face big time. The Lions look good. Now, things are deceiving because Kelsey did not play in the game against the Lions on opening night. If Kelsey plays, now obviously, as I like to say to Hank all the time, fallacy of a predetermined outcome. So you can't say what actually would have happened. But I like the Lions. I think the Lions are a good team. I know Hank doesn't like the Lions. I know that that's the one team that if he could throw them away tomorrow, he would.
You're just mad they beat the Giants last year.
Okay, Nick, don't remind me. I sat in the freezing cold at that game.
But this one, nothing crazy here. I'm taking the Lions to cover. Seattle kind of scared me last week.
Yeah, Nick, I love the Lions laying the 5. Now, I know I did this last year when these two met in Detroit, and Seattle ended up winning that one. That was a crazy game last year, 48-45. But the thing to watch for here is a banged-up offensive line for the Seahawks going up against Aiden Hutchinson, an Aiden Hutchinson-led pass rush. I think the Lions will be able to poke holes at the Seattle defense, just like the Rams were able to do last week. Even if Devin Witherspoon makes his debut, I think the Lions win this like 27-20 at Ford Field and go to 2-0. So give me the Lions to and take the money in this one. Nick D, go for it.
I love the Lions. Seattle's overrated. Like you said, they have a very banged-up offensive line. They got killed at home last week. Now they're going on the road. And Seattle, they can score a lot of points. The Lions, they can score a lot of points. I mean, the Lions, I think they're an underrated team. I think they could beat almost anybody. They should. I really like the Lions. Seattle, I don't see it. They had an okay year last year. Fine. I don't see it with Seattle at all.
Hank hates the Lions, so he's taking Seattle. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Whoa.
I'm kidding. Our guy Dan Campbell, right?
As Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend.
Yes.
No, I am going to take the Lions this week. That's not because of what I saw in week 1. I think it's a little bit more to do with Seattle, but I don't see Seattle covering. Give me Detroit.
By the way, a fun fact, Lee Corso going to pick his 400th headgear on College Game Day this Saturday. So go check that out. And now I can because I have ESPN back. So Nick, I was able to watch that Jet game last week. I know I was asking for an extra ticket. It turns out I was actually able to get it 6 hours before.
Oh yeah, because they ironically got it back right before the game went on.
CBS and DirecTV though, no luck. So actually, if you have DirecTV and you're a Jets fan, you're going to be screwed Sunday unless you get lucky. Ben Kruse, go for it.
Wait a minute, direct, not so direct TV.
Not so direct TV. That's correct. All right, Ben.
I actually have the Seahawks winning this game. Upset.
Ooh, nice.
I think that the Lions are going to cover. But last year, the Seahawks went into Detroit. They won that game. I'm going to go with the tradition and be a little superstitious. Keep that another year. And so I had the Seahawks winning an upset, but I do think that the Lions are going to take the points because they're a really good, high-powered offense. But I think the Seahawks can score a lot as well, too. And I think that last year they had a really high-scoring game, so I think it's going to be fairly close. And Seattle really didn't score a lot last week. I think that their offense bounces back this week. I think that the Lions take a step back a little bit defensively. So I think that the Seahawks are going to have the upset, but the Lions take the points.
There we go. So 4 out of 5 there. Tom has the Lions and Paul has the Lions. So that means that Ben Kruse is going to be the lone wolf at Ford Field. Well, Ben, we ended with you there. Let's start with you here. It's Chris Myers, Robert Smith, and Jen Hale on the NFL on Fox. It's the battle of rookie quarterbacks as Anthony Richardson's Indianapolis Colts take on C.J. Stroud's Houston Texans. And the Texans at home, a 1.5 favorite. By the way, this line has also fluctuated. Earlier on Thursday, the Colts were favored. Now the Texans are the slight favorite. But Ben, what do you think?
This is tough. I mean, you have 2 rookie quarterbacks, going at it. I think it's going to be a fun rivalry for years to come. The Colts played Jacksonville pretty tight last week. The Texans obviously kind of had a really slow start in their first week against Baltimore. Man, you know what? Give me the Colts upset. Again, I think that the Texans, specifically at home, I think that the Colts defensively is going to do a really good job on C.J. Stroud, even though I do like Stroud. I think the Texans have a really slow start the year. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna have the Colts win outright. I think that this line is pretty tight. And I think that the Colts specifically have a better game, especially with the way that they played against Jacksonville, where they kept it pretty close to the rest of the way. And the Jags are going to be the AFC South probably favorite. So I'm going to go Colts upset, and that's going to be my outright pick of the week.
Just so people know before we move on, anything 3 or lower is considered pick 'em. So basically, that could go either way. You could really pick either team, essentially.
2.5 or lower, I would say.
2.5 or lower, yeah.
Unless you have the worst bad beat of the season. Where you take the Texans and they win 24-23.
Oh, Jesus.
This feels like
the luck that we had last year doing this, I wouldn't be surprised. Nick, what do you think?
I think
I'm sorry. Let me go to Nick Morgasen first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know. Yeah. So I'm kind of on the same trail as Ben here. Like the Colts, even though the Colts or the Texans are going nowhere this season whatsoever, they still have a lot to figure out. The Colts are probably 2 to 3 years away at least. The Texans, I'll just put a big giant question mark on the Texans because I have no idea where they are right now. They're floating out in the middle of space with nothing. So I think the Colts are. Anthony Richardson has some promise. They don't have Jonathan Taylor, though. That's going to be a problem. He's out for the first 4 games. But I guess if I had Hank flip a coin, I'm going to land on the Colts. So give me the Colts plus points.
This matchup, Week 18 last year, helped shake up where we are with these teams today in terms of the quarterbacks positions, where there was Carolina ended up trading up to get Bryce Young, or Houston getting C.J. Stroud, or the Colts getting Anthony Richardson. That was all pretty much because of this matchup last year.
Thanks, Lovie Smith.
Yes, and of course, Lovie Smith got rewarded by getting fired. So they both showed respectable debuts last week because they both eclipsed 260 yards of total offense. But, gosh, I like Houston. I mean, the Colts have Anthony Richardson, but I don't think they have much else. I think the Texans have some players. And like Nick said with his pick in the AFC North, my pick in the AFC South was that the Texans were going to be the second best team in this division. Now, maybe that's not saying much, but if that's going to be the case, they got to get these kind of wins, and I think they do. I'm going to take the Texans minus the 1.5. All right, Nick.
Texans minus 1.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'd have to say I have to go with the Colts. I mean, although I will preface this by saying both of these teams are very, very similar. They both have young quarterbacks with a certain amount of potential that they're relying too much on. Anthony Richardson threw the ball 37 times last week. C.J. Stroud threw it 34 times last week. They're both relied upon way too much for quarterbacks with their skill levels, and both teams don't have run games. The Colts, Anthony Richardson led the team in rushing. C.J. Stroud was second in rushing for the Texans last week. So both of these teams, I think, are very similar. They're in almost identical situations. But I like the Colts a little better. They were at least, I like Anthony Richardson right now a little better than Stroud. At least last week, the Colts were able to put up points and they were able to score. The Texans, they weren't able to even score one touchdown. So at least the Colts showed that. So right now, I would have to go with the Colts, even though I don't like either team.
Nick, I think you know what's coming for this this game for me. Coin flip.
Okay.
And where's it going to land?
Give him the Texans. Let's move on.
There we go. So he takes the Texans. Tom is taking the Colts, and Paul has the Texans. So it's kind of a split call here with all 7 of us down in Houston. Hank, it's an Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn special on the NFL and CBS. This is another great game in the early window on Sunday. It is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs taking on Trevor Lawrence and your Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Chiefs are favorites by 3.5.
Now, you might expect me to take Jacksonville for the upset based off of what happened last week, but I'm not going to do that. Patrick Mahomes is the type of quarterback that doesn't really lose 2 in a row very often. It's the Tom Brady effect, if you know what I mean. So therefore, I have to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I have to go with the Chiefs in this one.
Ben?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I expect probably Travis Kelce to come back, and he's the game changer offensively. And I think that, I think that the receivers are going to probably be more in sync, specifically when they have Kelce, because he can open up a lot of schemes defensively. But I do think that the Jaguars are going to play this game tight. I am going to have the Chiefs covered. I was debating on the Jags taking the points, but I think that they're going to win. That the Chiefs are going to win by the cover, and Jacksonville's going to keep it close, I think, for at least 2 quarters. I'm going to say 17 to probably this is tight, 20-17.
Oh, so you got a close one.
Yeah.
Well, so if you have
Wait a minute, that wouldn't be a cover then.
If you have the Chiefs 20-17,
24. I would say 24-17.
24-17. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to be pissed off, angry. They lost opening night. Obviously, they didn't have Kelce. I think Kelce is back. Big game changer. In my opinion, he's a combo between a tight end and a wide receiver. He is the number one. When he's back, Jacksonville is going to have a lot to deal with because that's a whole threat by itself. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have 2 bad games in a row. Never loses really 2 games in a row. Chiefs cover.
Tell you what, if it's going to be 24-17, I think Jacksonville could win that game. I don't like the Chiefs on playing close, low-scoring games. That is not their MO. But just by the way, so I checked what Mahomes' record is following a loss. It's in 16 games. He's 13-3, and he's thrown 42 touchdown passes in those games. So it's not obvious to say this. I think this comes down to whether Travis Kelce plays. And if the Jaguars proved one thing last year, is that they cannot guard a good tight end. And the other thing too is don't forget about Chris Jones being back there too. He wasn't there last week, and he ended up they ended up agreeing to a 1-year deal. And I don't think the Chiefs receivers are going to drop 5 Patrick Mahomes passes again. And I don't think the offense is going to convert just 35.7% of its third down attempts, while the defense only logged 1 sack. I mean, if you have Jones back there on Sunday, this also becomes a different game too. Ah, man, that extra half a point is very, very attractive to take Jacksonville, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take the Chiefs 31-24 over the Jaguars on Sunday.
All right, so I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, which the Chiefs tend to thrive in. I mean, and also it's like, okay, you have to remember, last week the Chiefs played really, really bad. I think that game was more about the Chiefs than it was about the Lions. So I don't think that's going to happen a second week in a row. And the Chiefs are now Travis Kelce is back. The Chiefs are a much better team than the Jaguars. And if it's high scoring, which I feel like this game will be, I mean, Jaguars games tend to be high scoring. The Chiefs should be able to cover this. 3.5 is not that much in a high scoring game, so I'll have to go with the Chiefs.
There we go. I'm really looking forward to watching this one though on Sunday. If Trevor Lawrence, who Hank says is him, if he can go down there and play toe to toe, I mean, can you imagine? Trevor Lawrence. I'm not saying outduel, but win a game against Patrick Mahomes. Now we saw last year that the Cowboys went down there and the Jaguars were able to win that game outright. So let's see what they could do here against the Chiefs. But I think with a few extra days to prepare for this one, I think, and also getting possibly Kelsey back, definitely getting Chris Jones back, I think it helps Kansas City in a big, big way here. So that's
Can you imagine the Chiefs started 0-2?
Yeah. The only reason why I would still give them hope, though, is that division, because we don't think the Broncos are that great. We don't think the Raiders are that great, and the Chargers are such a wild card in all of this. You'd still take the team with the better quarterback and the better head coach in that division. But yeah, I mean that would be absolutely crazy. And Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars going to 2-0 and that would be incredible too. And Tom and Paul both taking the Chiefs minus the 3.5 down there in Jacksonville. But like I said, this is going to be one of my favorite games to watch on Sunday. Joe Davis, Daryl Moose Johnston, Pam Oliver on the NFL on Fox, Nick DiMartino. It is Justin Fields and the Bears taking on, as I stuttered to say this, Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, although Baker did play well last week. And Baker's Bucks are laying 2.5 points at home in this one. Nick D.
I would have to go with the Bucks. I hate it. I don't like this game. But you know what? They're the home team. I don't think the Bears looked that great last week. I'm kind of going against my whole bounce back theory. But I don't know. Something tells me that the Bucks are going to win this. So I'll have to go with the Bucks.
All right, Hank.
I think you know what's coming next. Another coin flip.
Yeah, it's one of those games.
I'm gonna go with Da Bears.
Here you go. Ben?
I'm going to go actually a coin flip too. These two teams right now, I know these two teams kind of like look fairly similar, but I'm going to go with Nick here. I'm going to go with the Bucks. I really like how Baker Mayfield looked last week. I think that I don't think they're going to be great this year, but I think that they're playing for – Baker's trying to play for himself to prove himself, and Todd Bowles is trying to save his job. And I feel like the Bears, are a matchup where the Packers did pretty well last week moving the ball. They're going to Tampa, going south. It just kind of feels like it's a Buccaneer type of game. So I'm going to go Bucks taking the 2.5, then coin flip.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this game, as Tom would say, I'm not touching this game with a 100-foot pole. I wouldn't touch any gambling on this game whatsoever. Again, the Bears, you don't know what to expect. Buccaneers, you have Baker Mayfield as your quarterback. That's a whole wild card in itself. You also had a whole other situation with Mike Evans and his contract situation. Excuse me, on top of that. But the Bears scare me. And Baker Mayfield has won some games before. It's not like he's a complete slouch and can't do anything. If I had to pick it, which we all do, I'm just going to take the Bucks. I think it's going to be a slight cover, like a field goal, like they're saying.
Yeah, what scares me about Chicago is their play calling. And I feel like you've got to get Justin Fields to be throwing the ball downfield. And also, get DJ Moore involved. I mean, you brought him in there. You traded the first overall pick and got DJ Moore. You've got some weapons there for Fields. It's not about how many times he throws. It's about how efficient he can throw the ball. God, it's like, who do I trust in this one? That's the problem.
Nobody.
Head coach-wise is a push. Quarterback-wise, do I go? I hate to say this. I'm going with Tampa. Laying less than a field goal, too. It's just, I don't trust the Bears. I mean, when I say I don't trust the Bears, I just don't trust their system. That's it. I mean, by accident, I guess I have to trust Tampa in that regard, right?
Pretty much.
This is kind of a stay-away game, but, we have to pick every game. So let's go with Tampa minus the 2.5 down there at Raymond James. Let's take a look here. Tom has the Bucks and Paul has the Bucks. So I guess there we go. So it's going to be, I guess that's Hank's going to be the lone wolf. He's taking the Bears in this one. Ben, it's a Tom McCarthy, James Lofton, Jay Feely, Tiffany Blackman special on the NFL on CBS, as it's the Los Angeles Chargers taking that West Coast to East Coast trip to take on the Tennessee Titans with your head coaching buddy Mike Vrabel. The Chargers are a field goal favorite.
I'm going to go Chargers with a lock. I think this is my lock of the week. I'm not a big fan of the Titans this year. Brian Taylor had 3 interceptions last week. They still just don't have a direction right now. And the Chargers went head-to-toe last week against the Dolphins. They came up a little bit short in a shootout, and I think that the Chargers, specifically offensively, are going to have a really good start to their season. So I know that obviously that they're going on the road, but I think that they're going to win outright in this game. So it's going to be my lock.
Nice. All right. Nick?
Yeah, this game is kind of a crapshoot, in my opinion. I don't like the Chargers. I've been pretty public. Tom was pretty public about that too. Just Staley, I think, and I agree. I think Staley's going to get fired 1 year too late. But what are the Titans? They're Ryan Tannehill and take the mystery box, as Hank would say.
They're
Derrick Henry. So again, I can't believe I'm flipping a coin for this one, but I'm going to go against my hate. I'm going to take the Chargers to cover, but it's going to be barrel.
Nick.
Sorry. Go ahead, Hank. Go. What are you saying?
Nick, there's going to be no coin flip necessary, and let me explain why. Justin Herbert, Ryan Tannehill. Justin Herbert, Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, but wait a second. The Chargers, massive disappointment last year, right?
Yes.
Massive. You're going to tell me that they're much better than they are last year?
Not saying they are, but I'm not saying, but I still think they're better than the Titans.
Hank, here's another. So I will meet your seesaw, and I will raise it to Mike Vrabel, Brandon Staley.
That's a good one.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But I mean, if you go by quarterback, though, you're right. So so what were you taking, Hank?
Chargers.
Okay. See, I'm going to put the head coach aside in this matchup. I'm taking the Chargers minus the 3 because the Titans' offense was outside of Derrick Henry last week was completely lackluster, and we don't know about the situation with DeAndre Hopkins. They brought him in. He might be hurt in this one. And the Chargers were at least able to put up some points last week. I mean, their defense couldn't stop Tua or anybody really playing there last week, or Tyreek Hill, who's still, by the way, catching balls and running for over 200 yards. But I'm also going to put the notion away that the West Coast team is going cross country, because you know what, we were kind of thinking about that with the 49ers last week, and they had the biggest output of the week last week. So given the Chargers offense, I'm going to take them, and they win this one against the Titans. And Nick?
All right, so I love the Chargers this game.
There you go.
I don't agree with the Chargers hate. I do agree that they blow a lot of games, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means they're bad in big spots. They're still a much better team than the Titans. The Titans' offense are not going to be able to keep up with the Chargers. And the Chargers, I get that they lost at home to the Dolphins, but the Dolphins look like a very good team. I mean, like, people are making it sound like it's a terrible loss. And it's like, it's true that Brandon Staley messes up a lot, but I mean, it's also week 2. It's not really the stage where Brandon Staley is most well known for screwing everything up. And the Chargers, just talent-wise, are much, much better than the Titans. I mean, the Titans' whole offense is Tannehill, who's a game manager, and Derrick Henry. I mean, it's basically those two. I mean, like, the Titans really just aren't that good. They might be a smarter team than the Chargers, possibly, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up. I mean, the Chargers, they can score a lot of points, and the Titans, they just can't.
So there you go. So this is a clean sweep because Paul is taking the Chargers And Tom is also jumping aboard with Ben, and that he's taking the Chargers with a lock as well. So that is his lock of the week, taking the Chargers over the Titans, laying the 3 down there in Tennessee. Hank, it's Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth, and Christina Pink on the NFL on Fox. It is our New York Football Giants trying to bounce back. They go out to Arizona to take on Joshua Dobbs and the Arizona Cardinals, and the Giants are a 4-point favorite.
So let me just put this in perspective. So unlike last year, this is the first time the Giants have faced serious adversity to a great extent. Like, obviously last year they had their moments where it looked like, they weren't going to make the playoffs. I mean, they slumped at the end of the year, but at the end of the day, I think they're still a well-coached team. Obviously, they didn't look good in that game against the Dallas Cowboys, but you know what? Even the best coaches are going to have their rough games, and last week was a reminder that even though this is an improved Giants team, they're still a team that's a work in progress. They still have a lot that they need to work on. But you know what? I think a bounce back can definitely happen. I think they're going to win this week in Arizona. But if they go 0-2, then you're going to see a lot of alarm bells. And it's not just because they're 0-2. Look at the schedule ahead of them. But in any event, give me the G-Men.
Ben?
Ben, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I think this is a perfect matchup for the Giants. This is a perfect matchup for the Giants here to come back and respond after the tough one in week 1. But week 1 essentially isn't an overall line in terms of how your team's going to be throughout the rest of the season. The Giants essentially could potentially be what the Cowboys were to them in week 1. Essentially, I don't want to say blow out the Cardinals, but the Cardinals essentially are a young team. They're having Joshua Dobbs defensive with the Giants. I think they're going to be able to create some turnovers. This is an easy cover, I think, for me for the Giants. Knock on wood, but I'm going to go Giants cover here.
All right, Nick.
Was it me, Johnny, or no?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I was messing around with some of the sports book stuff because I haven't done that before, and I was looking at some of these lines, and I saw that this originally was at 5.5 originally. Now it's down a full 1.5 to 4, and I was like, wow, some disrespect on the Giants side. People betting the Cardinals, and I said, are we really doing this right now? Like, the Giants got to win. And by the way, Hank, those hiccups before, that's what that 40-0 game was on opening night. A bunch of hiccups. So
the Dallas defense playing better.
Well, don't get me wrong. Dallas defense deserves a lot of credit for that game, but there was a lot of hiccups on the Giants side, but I digress.
Oh, yeah.
So the Giants are going to win this game. They have to win this game. They can't lose to one of the worst teams in football. If they go down 0-2, then I think they face the Niners in week 3.
Oh, they're going to be week 2. Yeah,
they're going to be 0-3 if they lose this week. So I put this one in as a -4 when I was on the books looking at it. I'm taking this. This is going to be an easy cover.
Yeah, this is actually, and I'm trying not to be biased in doing this, but this is my lock of the week because I mean, this is so disrespectful. Now, I think the Giants can win this game only by 6 or 7 points, but you know, in the NFL, a win is a win, and you don't question it. It's not college football where your wins are getting, or you have to win decisively. The best recipe for this team is the fact to play the Cardinals. And yeah, maybe they show a little bit of signs. I mean, the Cardinals hung in there with the Commanders last week, but I expect that Wink Martindale's unit's going to have enough pride to keep Josh Dobbs in check. And also, I trust Brian Dable. You know what? I'm sure he got after this team after how they played on Sunday night. So, I mean, even if the Giants win this game by a touchdown, you know what? I mean, that's still good enough. You grab that win and you move on. But the fact that this line has come down, and I think people are probably betting it's more against the Giants than I think it is for the Cardinals. I mean, maybe they think the Giants win by like a field goal, make it very, very close in the end. But I'm not going to do it. This is my lock of the week. I'm taking the Giants -4 out there in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. So I'd have to say I totally agree. The Giants are a much better team than the Cardinals. I don't put too much stock in that loss against the Cowboys, other than that the Cowboys are a much better team than the Giants. But, I mean, Josh Dobbs he threw for like 132 yards last week. He really isn't good. I really see a bounce back from the Giants. I mean, the Cardinals, I mean, it's also a game of desperation for them because the Giants' schedule gets much harder after this. The Giants, I really think they're going to cover. I don't think the Cardinals have much of a chance.
Yeah, I mean, that game last Sunday, I mean, it was all Dallas. It was really Dallas's defense. That was the thing, and it was the special teams touchdown. That was really it. I mean, Dak only threw for 143 yards. I mean, I know it's probably all he needed to do because they jumped out to such a quick lead early on, but that's what we're going to roll with here out in Arizona. Tom has the Giants, and I'm going to double check with Paul on this because I don't really have. I mean, he just gave me teams here, and we'll put these full picks on our X. I want to say Twitter X account at Game On ETB and ETB Network. But Paul here has the Cardinals, so I'm assuming he's taking the Cardinals plus the points, which. Maybe if the Giants win by, like I'm saying, Giants win by a field goal, that could be it. By the way, that would be a brutal, bad beat for all of us if that is the case. But I'm assuming that all of us are taking the Giants, and that is going to be my lock out there in Arizona, and we'll see what happens here. Nick D, it's a Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, Laura Oakman special on the NFL on Fox out at SoFi Stadium in the NFC West. It's Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Rams, and the Niners a 7.5-point favorite. Love
the Rams. I'm drinking the Rams Kool-Aid again. It worked last week. Look, they're a home team and a 7.5-point underdog. That seems a little nuts to me. So I'm gonna have to go with the Rams. They're still a good team. The Niners, I mean, 7.5 points. If it was 6.5, I'd be But 7.5, I'm going to have to go with the Rams.
So you're taking the Rams plus the points?
Plus the points.
And you think the 49ers will win?
I think the 49ers will win outright, probably. But I'm taking the Rams against the spread.
Okay. Very good. Just so we have that down for our points system. Hank?
Oh, no. I am, on the other hand, not drinking the Rams Kool-Aid. In fact, I'm going to be drinking the 49ers Kool-Aid because they're a talented team, and I feel very stupid for picking against them last week against the Steelers. But based on history, I had my reasons, but I digress. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this game, go 2-0. They're going to be on their, could you call it revenge tour? I don't know, but give me the 49ers.
I'm going to go with the Niners in this one, but I'm going to go with Nick. I think the Rams are going to keep it close. I think that the Rams are going to cover, and they're going to take the points. It's an NFC type West type of game. Just feel, Niners to go West after being Midwest, and I think that maybe the Niners take a little step back in terms of their play. I think they obviously will win this game. They'll play well, but I think that the Rams will cover, especially with the way they played against Seattle last week. And it'll be a close game. So I'm going to go Niners to win, but I'm going to have the Rams cover.
Yeah, I've been big on the Niners. I was in the preview show. I don't know what to think of the Rams. I mean, I was concerned when Matthew Stafford couldn't get on the same page with his younger teammates, chemistry-wise. That kind of led me to some questions for that team. I really don't. I think the Rams are a question mark, in my opinion. I'm going to take the Niners to cover. I just think they're too good of a team.
Now, you're probably thinking, well, look what the Rams did last week without Cooper Kupp there in Seattle against the Seahawks. But Matthew Stafford's not going to look as comfortable standing in the pocket like he did against this Rams defense, like he did against the Seahawks, who weren't able to lay a finger on him last week. If I wasn't picking the Giant game, and the reason why the Giants are a lock is the spread. If I wasn't picking that game, this would be my lock of the week. And I love San Francisco laying the 7.5 in this one. And also, you look at what the 49ers did to Kenny Pickett last week. I mean, 9 quarterback hits, 5 sacks. It was the worst home loss for the Steelers in the Mike Tomlin era. And the 49ers have had the Rams number in recent success, 8 straight regular season wins by a combined 83 points. And don't discount the fact that this game's at home. And that at SoFi Stadium, that means absolutely nothing in this matchup. In fact, You will see a ton of San Francisco 49er red at SoFi Stadium in this one on Sunday. I'm taking the Niners minus the 7.5 at SoFi Stadium, and so is Tom, and so is Paul in this one as well. Nick, I have a feeling you may want to take the lead in this upcoming matchup. So, we're going to have a back-to-back and a belly-to-belly intro here. So before I do my part, I think you know what game is coming up next if I'm turning it over to Nick Morgasen.
Yeah, well, Tom had a surprise in the works, so let's take a look. R-E-R-E-R-E-L-A-R-E-R-E-R-E. There's your surprise right there. Yes, we know the Aaron Rodgers season is over.
And you know what?
Is that the Titanic music?
What? Yeah, I think so.
I think that was the Titanic music.
Yes, great. No,
Well,
great. YouTube's not going to strike us with lightning. What? What did you say?
I mean, he outdoes himself every week, and just think that's not the only one he's doing. Oh my gosh. Well, the Aaron Rodgers-less New York Jets go to AT&T Stadium. Zach Wilson and the Jets take on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Nick Morgasen down there at AT&T Stadium. It's a Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson special on the NFL and CBS. Your Jets are getting 9.5 points against the Cowboys, Nick.
I've been fumbling back and forth with this one because, again, that's a lot. Touchdown and a field goal favor for the Cowboys. Now, we all know they scored 40 points, and everyone's going to say, oh, well, the offense. I don't believe in the Cowboys' offense. So the defense really won them the game. They had a special teams. They had a few picks, the pick sixes. The line is so big, but at the same time, yes, I'm going to say it, the Zach Wilson haterade is real. And I've always hated Zach Wilson. I don't think he's a good quarterback. Now, am I saying they should have panicked like Mike Tannenbaum did on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it? And he said that they should have a quarterback in the building before they play Dallas. That's a ridiculous statement that I can't even fathom that he even put out on social media. And he was a GM for 10, 15 years of the Jets and the Dolphins. Okay? Now, originally, if this was not that, I probably would have taken the plus points on the Jets. But now I did some thinking. I can't believe I'm going to say this, Hank. I'm rolling with the Cowboys, and I'm taking the favorite.
I mean, Nick, I can't say that I blame you. I feel like taking Zach Wilson would be a mystery box. I mean, who knows? Could the defense possibly cover this? I wouldn't put it past them, but given the circumstances, nah, I'm not going to take that risk. Give me the Cowboys.
Nick,
if Aaron Rodgers,
I'm sorry, Nick. Ben, hold on one second. Let me go to the other Jet fan here. What do you think?
Oh, I love the Cowboys.
Yeah. There's not much else that needs to say. Right?
It's my lock of the week. This is my lock of the week.
There it is.
Oh,
I'm going to have to go with it. Not only do I believe here's the thing. Not only do I think that the Cowboys are not only do I think that's going to happen, I also kind of think that that's what we need to happen. We need the Jets to get blown out. Like, we can't wait for this whole Zach Wilson thing to implode for a second year in a row. We have to just get it out right now and see, like, we have to just get this thing over with right now. We can't be like fooling around with Zach Wilson for much longer. But it's not just that. Like, even though we won last week, let's not pretend that Zach Wilson wasn't awful. He was horrible. Like,
Thank you.
Just because we won doesn't mean he wasn't awful. I mean, that catch by Garrett Wilson, Zach Wilson made a terrible throw. He threw for like 140 yards. And you know what? He just had really good field position. The special teams and defense bailed him out, which is going to happen sometimes, but it's not going to happen every time. And Dallas is a much, much better team. I think they blow us out. The Cowboys are going to blow them out. It's over. It is over.
So I know that Nick, Hank, and myself did an emergency live stream about this earlier in the week. Let me ask you, you're the other Jet fan in this group. Where do you go for quarterback here?
Almost anything is a better option than Zach Wilson.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, but okay.
It is hard to get a worse option than him. I would go to first of all, I would first go to Tom Brady to see if he's willing to come back. If
he's not coming back.
Which he's probably not.
He's not coming back.
Okay, it's 0 for 1.
Nope.
Which he probably won't. Okay, fine. I would go to Matt Ryan if he's willing to come back.
That's not happening.
He can't.
Probably won't, but it's worth a shot.
But wait, he can't come back because of his contract stipulation with the Colts because he can't technically retire. Otherwise, he won't get his money.
Oh, is that how it is?
Yeah, that's how his contract. That's why he's in the booth. He's in the booth because he technically can't retire.
Third,
I would give me a realistic one, Nick.
I would go to Jameis Winston.
Oh,
wait, whoa! I'm sorry. What?
I wouldn't even do that.
Wilson. You wouldn't rather have Jameis Winston than Zach Wilson?
No.
It's not even close.
No.
I'd much rather have Jameis Winston.
No,
I wouldn't. So I blurted out a few names on
and there's probably somebody else that I'm forgetting that I would go to.
I need to confirm one thing.
Right. Yeah.
You wouldn't take Colin Kaepernick back, right?
No.
Okay, good.
No, because he's been out of the league for 6 years.
7 years. Yeah.
Might be worse than Wilson.
Those were two people that brought it up on social media whose names that we will not mention on this broadcast. But those were names that I think Tannenbaum and have been put out online. I just don't think those are realistic options. And you want to
Tannenbaum's an idiot.
All right.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Who else? Because I'm probably forgetting somebody.
Well, so here's the thing. So
I have a couple too.
First of all, if you're going to make a trade for a quarterback, it's going to be from a bad team, number one. And we're thinking
That's right.
Arizona, who you want Clayton Tune or Joshua Dobbs? No. You want maybe the other one's Tampa. You don't want Baker Mayfield.
What about Brissett?
I would rather have Baker Mayfield.
But he just signed there. You have Sam Howell Sunday making his third career start. So I mean, you need the backup quarterback as much. I brought that up with Nick too. I mean, you're talking about Brissett, Taylor Heineke, but those are behind guys that have made only a few starts. Taylor Heineke behind second-year quarterback Desmond Ridder.
You got to give Brissett a lot of credit for what he did behind Watson, though, because that's a tough situation to come in knowing that the starting quarterback is suspended for what he was, 8 games, 9 games, I can't remember. But he had to come in and lead that team, and he kept them afloat.
And I like Brissett, but I just don't see a team trading them right away. I mean, they just brought him in this offseason. That's why I think the Brissetts and the Heinekes are out of the way. And I think the other options that I had blurted out there, are they better options than Zach Wilson because they're not Zach Wilson? That doesn't mean they're better options, though. That's the problem. I think you got to ride out the string with him right now. And look, these next 5 games, including this game on Sunday against the Cowboys, were going to be difficult, even if Aaron Rodgers was starting. Because we don't know if Aaron Rodgers could. We don't, and this is going to be a question that we'll never know this year. Is if Aaron Rodgers could have done this against these kind of opponents, like Dallas, like Kansas City, like New England next week. I mean, I don't know. He's never done it in this division. This division doesn't have the Bears or the
Zach
Lions.
Wilson at quarterback. The Jets probably finish in last place.
I agree with that.
No, I don't agree with that. The Jets defense will keep them in games, though.
And that's fine. I can live with that. I mean, I'm used to it, but they're probably going to be the worst team in the division.
Salah's going to get fired if they finish in last place.
I don't think so.
He's not getting fired.
He won't get fired.
I would say this though, and obviously keep your thought is the thing about Zach Wilson that gets the advantage of this year is it sounds like Aaron Rodgers is going to be at the sideline. He had none of that last year kind of with him. And I think that if you get the assistance with him, and he actually helped Zach Wilson even the preseason.
It's not going to matter. Okay, like Zach Wilson isn't good enough. It doesn't matter who's on the sideline.
I don't think he's great either.
If he can't make easy throws, it's not going to matter.
By the way, I want to just getting back to this game. I want to take Zach Wilson so bad, but I think this is almost a duplicate of last week's Giant game. I think that the Dallas defense alone is going to win this game by 10 points. So
honestly, I would rather get Sam Darnold back than continue with.
I like that too.
Okay. Now we're over exaggerating a little.
No, I'm honestly not.
It's good.
I'm honestly not.
Well, Sam Darnold he had a good system in Carolina, and God forbid Purdy gets hurt. He's got a good system out there in the 49ers. And he took the Panthers to be relevant into Week 18 last year. I'm taking Dallas minus the 9.5. I tried every which way to get the Jets plus the points in this one, and I just can't do it because they're not getting 3-4 takeaways like they did last week. They're not getting a special teams touchdown like they did last week. But you can't bank on it every single week.
I think you're out of your mind about Jameis Winston. I mean, I think Jameis Winston right now is the best and most realistic option.
I mean, I don't know about.
But what does Jameis Winston bring to the table?
He's better than Zach Wilson. That's what it is.
Yeah, him and his crab legs.
Well, he'll have 5. Well, you know what? To be fair, he'll have 5 touchdowns with the Jets, but then he'll throw 6 interceptions.
That's the problem.
But at least
which is more than Zach Wilson. He do 1 and 2.
Be able to trust him. The Jets don't believe in Zach Wilson. They didn't believe in him last year. They hardly even let him throw the ball.
That's fair.
Sure.
They hardly even let him
running
play.
backs there this year too. I think the team's a little bit different. We'll spend plenty of time on this because there'll be more games coming up. Ben closes out here in this game.
Well, the Cowboys' defensive line against the Giants' offensive line. What happened was not pretty. Daniel Jones got absolutely wrecked. You look at the Jets' offensive line against the Cowboys' defensive line. I think it's going to be a microcosm of Week 1. I think the Cowboys are going to be able to create some turnovers on a guy like Zach Wilson, who is, he's had his turnover problems in the past, so it just doesn't seem like a matchup that I can even think about, like you said, Johnny, to even entertain points for the Jets. So give me Dallas with the 9.5, and yeah, I'm going to cover that.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, though, Tom is taking the Cowboys, but a non-cover, and Paul has the Cowboys winning this game outright too. So we're all taking the Cowboys, but Tom's going to be the only kind of different one that he is taking the Jets plus the 9.5, but he thinks Dallas is.
I was close. I was close to taking plus points. I just could not do it.
Nick, I tried for a couple of days now when I was doing this. I tried every possible way to get the Jets plus the points, and I just can't do it. If this game could go to 10.5, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, unless the Jets defense can. I mean, Dak, I guess, could be possible for 2 interceptions. I mean, that could be it.
The problem is, though, the problem is if the Jets offense can't stay on the field, there's only so much the defense can do.
That's
good point.
Exactly right. It's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, before we get to this next game, Tom Albano is back again with, I guess, the late, great Billy Mays would be proud of Tom Albano saying this. But wait, there's more.
Broncos country, let's ride. Broncos country, Broncos country, Broncos country, Broncos country, let's ride.
Oh, let's ride as Sean Payton decides on the opening kickoff to do an onside kick, and it almost worked. It almost worked. I was like, oh, Sean, you would have been right. It would have been perfect. But in true Broncos country, let's ride fashion, it did not. Well, they're back home again here in game number 2 as they take on Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders. I'm going to go first here. It is a Spiro, Adam, and Aditi special on the NFL and CBS with the Denver Broncos a 3.5-point favorite. See, this is another game that I struggled with picking against the spread here because Peyton's offense left much to be desired. They left 4 points on the field thanks to Will Lutz, the kicker. Washington's performance didn't exactly inspire much confidence either, though, because Sam Howell committed his share of turnovers. He got sacked 6 times. Even with offensive stars on both sides of the ball, I think this contest is going to be a very defensive battle. So in that regard, I got to take the Commanders plus the 3.5 in this game, guys. Man, but as far as a winner in this one,
well, you're mostly focused on the points here anyway.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the point spread, I am taking the Commanders plus the 3.5. I mean, this has like, you know what this has? This has like last week 17-16 written all over it again. So I'm going to take Denver to win. I'm going to take the Commanders plus the points.
That sounds about right.
Nick D.
Yeah, I'd have to say I agree. I'm going to have to go with – I was very back and forth with this. The thing is, I see it as like – something tells me it's going to be a very low-scoring game. Neither team was impressive last week. I also have taken so many favorites this week that I feel like it's – like I just feel like I have to take at least one other underdog. But you know what? This game is going to be so low scoring. I see it being probably something like a 17-14 game. Don't like either team. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole in terms of actual betting, but I would probably have to go with Washington. That one half of
Did Tom message you? Did Tom Albano message you that before we started today?
I mean, I think it was a joke. Yes, because Tom says that all the time.
Exactly. Hank, what's
it's a common phrase.
Yes, it is a common phrase.
I think you know this is going to be another coin flip.
Yeah.
The Broncos.
Broncos.
Broncos, all right.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch the commies. Give me the Broncos or the foreskins, but yeah, Broncos.
That's exactly why. All right, Ben.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with you the same as Johnny's. Broncos are going to win this game, but the Commanders are going to cover. Just that line specifically, I think it's going to be like a 1-point game. It's going to be like a 19-18 type of game. It's like one of those games like somebody has to win. I mean, both teams weren't really that good last week. So, I'm going to take the Broncos. I mean, at least Russell Wilson or Sam Howell. At least I'll take the veteran in this case, especially at home. So, yeah, I'll go Broncos, but I'll have the Commanders take the points.
Yeah, this is just one of those games where I feel like someone's going to cause a safety in the end zone, and that's how this game is going to end. I could see that being this type of game. So I'm taking the Commanders. There's really no other reason. There should be alarm bells going off in Denver right now with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. It's not a good combination. Sean Payton wants to be king of the castle, and Russell Wilson just wants to kiss babies and be politically correct.
Well, I mean, I like, but you saw that thing that Seth Richardson had with about Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, right?
Yes, he was supposedly telling Russ to be more aggressive in the press conferences, and Russ just went back to doing what he knows best, just being politically correct. So yeah, I'm taking the Commanders. I don't trust the Broncos at all right now.
So are you taking them as a full upset special? Just so I know for keeping.
Yeah.
There we go. Paul has the Broncos, and of course Tom Albano has Broncos Country. Let's ride. He's got the Broncos taking the money there at Empower Field at Mile High. Ben, it's a Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark special on Sunday Night Football on NBC featuring the Miami Dolphins and your New England Patriots, and your Patriots are getting a field goal at Foxborough.
Yeah, like I said, with the way that the Patriots played their defense in that first game, if they can be able to limit the turnovers, early on, I think that the Patriots have to get ahead in this game because last year the Dolphins were red hot to start the season. But it's at home, it's under the lights. You know what? I'm going to be a little biased here, but I think the Patriots are going to win this game. I think they're going to find a way to pull this game out, and I think it's going to be like a 20-17 game. So I think the Pats are going to win, and I think the Dolphins are going to cover. So, I'm going to go with my gut. I really like our chances this week. And I think that, we're not going to – offensively, it's not going to be a pretty game, but I think that – especially with a lot of our offensive line out, but I think our defense is going to ball out again. So I think that if you can be able to withstand between 17 and 20 points, Patriots are going to win this game. It's going to feel like the Ravens-Patriots game a couple years ago on Sunday night. I know the Ravens, it was, I think, 2020, a game we had no business in winning. But we're going to have to steal some games this year because our schedule is brutal. But I really like us bouncing back in this game. So I'm going to go with Patriots and the Dolphins cover the points.
So in honor I know this is the NFL, but in honor of my guy Lee Corso and his 400 doing his 400 headgear, I would say not so fast, my friend, because this is not. This is Tua Tagovailoa under center, not Teddy Bridgewater, not Skylar Thompson, and maybe Bill Belichick can find a way to slow down the Dolphins' passing game, but the Pats to me don't have the explosiveness to match up with a Miami attack, and I think Vic Fangio is going to take full advantage of that injury-plagued offensive line. The only thing I'm missing here from a Lee Corso perspective is I don't have a Dolphins head in my closet, so I cannot put that headgear on. But I am taking the Dolphins minus the 3 up there in Foxborough. I would say, give me that Dolphin hat, but I don't have any gear on me, so just pretend. I'm going to take the Dolphins minus the 3. Now, Nick, I know you and I spoke about this before. You had this locked in at 2.5, but on Thursday it did jump up to 3. Does that change your thought at all?
Hell no, it doesn't. Okay. I mean, the Dolphins are going to win this game. The Dolphins looked amazing last week. Tyreek Hill, 215 yards. I think he came out before the game and said, I'm going to get 2,000 receiving yards this year. He's 10% there already. I don't know if that says very much, but he just looks good. I'm not a Tua fan. I'm on the record. Hank, you know I'm on the record for that. I'm not a Tua fan. But they look good. I can say when I'm wrong. They look good. This is my lock, actually, this week. I'm taking the Dolphins. I think they're going to win this
Disrespect.
by more than 3 points. I actually think the Dolphins are going to win this game by at least a touchdown. So I think this is going to be an easy lock. I'm taking the Dolphins on the favorite.
Well, guess what? I respectfully disagree with you about Tua Tagovailoa. I think when healthy, Tua is him. And I know you were trying to hold in your vomit there, Nick. I saw you with that mouth. But I digress. The Patriots are not the better team. Like, give me the Fins. Fins up.
Dolphins. Sorry.
That's pretty easy.
Dolphins. This is just an easy pick to me. It was almost going to be my lock, but not quite. The Patriots the Patriots just don't have it against the Dolphins. I mean, I think this game is going to be very high scoring, and the Patriots aren't going to be able to keep up with the Dolphins. I agree with Hank about Tua. Tua is good as long as he's not injured. And if he can make it through another game without getting injured, then I really like the Dolphins. By the way, if Tua's healthy, I think the Dolphins could win the division. I think they can go head to head with the Bills. Like,
Nick, I have them winning the division.
I really think they can beat the Bills. So I really love the Dolphins this week.
Nick, I have them winning the division. You go back and look at the preview. I literally said that, and Nick and Johnny can vouch for me on that.
Yeah. I still think it's a bold pick, depending on if Josh Allen is okay and everything. But see what happens.
Might be more than just Josh
Allen. I stand by it.
Yeah, I think it might be more than just Josh Allen, though. They're up there in Buffalo, but this division is going to be something to watch. The AFC East, and this is going to be a good showdown up there in Foxborough. Hank, it's a Chris Fowler, Dan Orlovsky, Lewis Riddick, Laura Rutledge special on ESPN's Monday Night Football as Derek Carr and New Orleans Saints take on the Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young, and the Panthers are getting 3 points at home.
This is going to be a pretty bold pick whatsoever, but I have the Panthers. I have the Panthers winning this one. This is upset special. I think Bryce Young gets his first victory, and it's going to be a very close game. But I think the Panthers win it with a late touchdown. 21-17 is the final score.
Ben?
Yeah, this was a tough one because, I thought that the Saints really struggled last week at home, especially against the Titans. But the Panthers really struggled in their first game against the Falcons. I'm going to go with the Saints to cover, but, it could really go either way. I think that Bryce Young is going to come up a little bit short in this one.
Go ahead, Nick Morgasen.
Again, I like Derek Carr. I don't like Derek Carr. The Panthers burned me. I was all on them in week 1. I said, Bryce Young's going to come out and play good football, and everything's going to be great again. They made some great moves in the offseason. They burned me big time. The Saints, everyone is like down on the Saints, like just because they have their issues, and I think they're a much better team than people give them credit for. I'm going to take them as the favorite on the road.
Okay.
I totally agree. I love the Saints. Derek Carr threw for 300 yards last week. I like the Saints to win the division. I totally agree with what you're saying. The Panthers, they really aren't very good. I don't really believe in Bryce Young, at least not yet. So yeah, give me the Saints.
So we've got the veteran versus the kid here on Monday Night Football. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right?
Yep.
Well, then call me insane, because we're going to go back to the well again here. I am taking the Carolina Panthers in an upset special. And the reason why I'm taking the Panthers in this one is their pass rush. Just look at I know we're focused on the game, on the final scores of the games, but look at both the Saints and the Carolina games last week. The Saints gave up 4 sacks. The Carolina Panthers sacked Falcons quarterback Desmond Ridder 4 times. Yes, Bryce Young is still learning, but if he limits the turnovers this one, I think he gives the Panthers a shot. I think they're at home, and the one thing they were able to do last year was win divisional games, especially in their own building. I think they get it done here too. Upset special with my new Monday Night Football crew, Carolina plus the 3 against the Saints outright in this one. And it's a split decision here between Tom and Paul, as Tom is taking the Saints and Paul is taking the Panthers here in Carolina at Bank of America. Nick Morgasen, it's a Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salter special on ABC as the Cleveland Browns take on the Pittsburgh Steelers at Aquashore Stadium, and the Browns are a 2.5-point favorite.
Ugh. I wish it would still be Heinz Field. They completely destroyed that stadium, naming rights wise. The Browns got I don't know if I want to call it a lucky win. The weather kind of was a factor. Joe Burrow's not 100% healthy. I think this line is kind of ridiculous, actually, to be honest. The Browns being a field goal favorite on the road against the Steelers. The Steelers are a much better team than we give them credit for. They just need to play their game and be better. I'm taking the upset. I'm taking an upset at home for a home team. That just sounds odd to me. But I'm taking the Steelers to win this outright.
2 Monday Night Football games, 2 Monday Night Football upsets. I'm also taking Pittsburgh plus the 2.5 in this one. And the reason why is I think by accident they're going to be better than they were last week. And even though the Browns destroyed the Bengals in their opener last week, I still think they're very vulnerable on offense. And I think that Pittsburgh defense will bounce back because it is not the 49ers, who are very explosive on offense. And I think Mike Tomlin's going to rally the troops here. So give me Pittsburgh to win this game outright at Aquashore Stadium on Monday night. Nick D?
I disagree with both of you. I'm going to have to go with the Browns. Mainly, I think the quarterback game is much better. The Browns killed the Bengals last week. I don't really believe in the Steelers right now. Something tells me I might regret this, but I don't know. I really like the Browns.
Hank?
I'm with Johnny and Nick. I am taking the Steelers for an upset special. I know they had a rough one last week, but I think they'll bounce back. Give me Pittsburgh.
Nick's going to be the lone wolf on the Browns because I'm going to go Steelers upset outright. I really like this one. Pittsburgh got an absolute rough matchup in the first one. I wasn't expecting them to get blown out, but I do think that they're going to bounce back. They're at home again. I think Kenny Pickett responds in this one. And I'm going to say 27-14 Steelers.
Nice. I like that. And yeah, Nick D is going to be the lone wolf because Paul and Tom are both taking the Steelers in an upset special on Monday night, the second Monday night game of week number 2. And that is going to put a wrap on week number 2 here of Football Friday. So we'll see how we do with all of our picks. This is a very strange week. Like I said, I feel like we could go 1-15 or 13-3. It is that kind of week, and we'll see what we do with our point spread as well. We will keep you updated on all of our picks. If you missed any of them, check us out at Game On ETB or ETB Network on X, also on Facebook as well, and on Instagram. And also check us out at youtube.com/ETB Network. If you like our videos, leave us a like. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. And, of course, have your notifications set now more than ever. And, of course, etbpodcast.com is a great site to check us all out. I know Hank's got a lot of great blogs up there. There's a lot of great blogs from all of us. And especially there's a great blogger that we have, Brody. I'll give you a little self-promotion here. We're going to have Brody on one of my Monty Moments next week for a very special one. Big college football week happening next week. And so we'll dive into that in one of them next week as well. And I'll see you for a couple of times there. And then back, of course, for week number 3 of Football Friday as well. And if you can't watch us on YouTube, and if you are on the go, you can also catch us on your favorite audio platform, any audio podcast platform. That's Acast, iHeart, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, you can check us out there. You can also check out Nick Morgasen on Empty the Bench, Hank Indictor on Hidden for the Cycle, and so much more. So, guys, week 2 is here. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets this week. So, much more dramatic week.
If there's anything we've learned about the NFL, we could spend an hour and a half every week doing Football Friday, and we predict these games. We don't know a damn thing about this league, right?
Wait a minute. I love these fantasy gambling experts who think they have the answer to everything. Oh, I'm the gambling expert. You're not the gambling expert. You just do it for a living.
A gambling expert.
If there was a gambling expert, they would be worth like billions upon billions of dollars.
From betting.
Maybe we are. Maybe we'll give you winners this week. We'll see what happens there. But guys, enjoy your football weekend.
See ya.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We'll see you next week for week 3 as well. So
yeah, absolutely. So for Nick Morgasen, Nick DiMartino, Ben Kruse, Hank Indictor, Paul Lombardi, Tom Albano, I'm Johnny Montalbano. Everybody enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you all again next week.